Om Shanti. So today we are looking at cultivating all relationships with Baba. So it takes us to a very intoxicating phrase of today's Murli, in which Baba said in English, I am Son of God. Right? Now all those who are in female costumes also will say, I am Son of God. And the idea of being Son of God exists also in Christianity, they say, for Jesus Christ. He was the only Son of God. And I remember one remark that Baba had made in regard to that. He said, well, what are the rest of us, cousins? So no, all of us are sons of God. And son has a particular meaning, and that is to do with having rights to the inheritance. And in the earlier days, when the laws were a little different from how they are now, those who were in females' costume were not deemed as having any rights to the inheritance from their fathers. Nowadays it's changed, but in Baba's day it was like that. And even now there's still the prevailing social attitude that, well, girls will get married and become the 50% partner of the wealth of their husband, and therefore they don't need any inheritance. But we say that's okay, but we are anyway sons of God, and we have rights to the full inheritance from Baba. So what is Baba's inheritance? One thought that is very nice to keep in your mind, because people do experience financial worries. Have you experienced that ever? Financial worries? Nobody? I don't believe a word of it. Generally, people say it would be nice if we had a bit more. Right? Because then you can do more. So if you think, my father is rich, it actually takes away any kind of financial worry, even if you may not have enough. But if you have the thought, my father is rich, doesn't change anything, but it takes away the worry. Because worry is the problem, not lack of funds. Worry about lack of funds. Because Baba has given us all a guarantee that he provides us, and Baba is our provider. So this is one of the very important relationships. And in the Hindi words, and you can learn this one also, dhani. Usually dhani is translated as Lord and Master, but actually dhani is provider, which is different. So somebody who is an orphan is called nidhanke, means somebody for whom there is no one who is their provider. So that's an orphan. Nobody to protect you, nobody to give you money, nobody to arrange for your placement in education, in marriage, and in the job market. You see, so you need a provider. And so Baba is our provider. So we became sons of God, we became Brahma Kumaris and Brahma Kumars. So when we are in our physical form, we are the sons and daughters of Brahma, and we are all brothers and sisters, and we are a family. And we belong to the Prajapita, the father of all the people, the Adam, the one who is the great-great-grandfather, the seed of the human world tree. And then we have Shiv Baba, who is the incorporeal seed. And so we are all his sons. And Shiv Baba is actually the owner of the universe. So the owner of the universe is your father. That means you are not going to have any problems, because family relationship is such. So Baba has a commitment and an obligation to us, which if we don't have a living relationship with Baba in that way, then we can sometimes feel without. We can sometimes feel that you're on your own, you see. And the thing about a human being, which we all are, human beings are not creatures who exist naturally in isolation. And you know, the foundation of the human civilization is the couple, which is Lakshmi and Narayan, in whose former birth they are our alokik parents, Baba and Mama, you see. And we are the Brahma Kumars and Kumaris, sons and daughters of Brahma Baba and Jagat Amba, Mother Saraswati. And so this puts us in a sense of identity which is actually very potent. Now, I mentioned, those of you who were here 2 days ago will remember this word conditioning that I had used for nature. Yeah? And so when we are experiencing our conditioning from our lokik parents, then we can see that there is quite a contrast between the conditioning we receive from our alokik parents and the conditioning we receive from our lokik parents. Because I don't think there's any, or very, very rare instances of lokik parents who really know what it means to be parents, and who really have what it takes, and who really provide the total maximum that parents are ideally supposed to provide, because there is no education for how to be parents. And whatever education there is body conscious and flawed. So there is definitely a difference, a big difference between our sense of self that we gain from our lokik parents and our sense of self, and consequently our conditioning that we gain from our alokik parents. And so how do we start the process of cultivating these relationships with Baba? And there are two Babas. There's Brahma Baba and there's Shiv Baba. And then we put them together and that becomes Bab Dada. So Shiv Baba is our source. We, by the time we reach the end of the Iron Age, the soul of all of us is pretty much depleted. And so those things that Baba tells us are our natural things, these what I call the essential elements of the soul: purity, peace, power, love, and bliss. Baba said in the Murli today, Shiv Baba is ever happy. And then he used the word Anand. So I actually make a distinction between happiness and bliss in my own churnings, because I've had quite a number of experiences which indicate to me that those two are quite different. Bliss is something which is an element of the soul, an original quality. That means that when we are in the soul world, in a completely perfect, purified state, then we are having full bliss. Bliss is a state of being that is not a result of anything. It is an original condition. Shiv Baba himself exists in a state of bliss, and we are his children. As such, we also exist potentially in a state of bliss. When we are in a depleted state, then we are unable to experience that, but we are able to understand that when we are full, completely full of all of our elements from the source, then we will be actually in a state of bliss. Now, happiness is something that is the result of pure karma. And as such, I call it as a secondary experience, because you have to do something in order to get happiness. And whereas with bliss, you don't have to do anything at a B. It's different. So therefore, I don't put happiness as one of his original or our original qualities. And I can illustrate this with a little story that happened to me a few years ago. And there was a fatal car accident. And within that, two of the people who died were from the area that I was connected with in USA. And so when I heard the news of this accident, I had this feeling that I would have to go to that place. And indeed, I did get the instruction to go. So I went there, and we did all whatever you have to do in the hospital and so on and so forth. And my duty, the one person died within about 5 minutes of the accident, so that was a quick thing. But the second person, it took 10 days. And so my duty was to sit with that person in the intensive care unit for the night time. So I did 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. every night. And I sat with that soul until it was the completion time. And then we, Baba comes every 2 weeks, right? And so Baba had come. These people had met Baba, and maybe the next day or the day after they had gone down and they had met with the accident. And then, so after 10 days or so, Baba's coming again, right? And so I was fully engaged in fulfilling this duty, but at the same time there's the awareness, well, Baba's coming again, and all the activities and procedures had been completed by the morning in which Baba was coming. Baba comes, say, around 6 p.m., 6:30 p.m. in the evening, and we were about 3 hours away, or 4 hours away. And so myself and the other Madhuban brothers and sisters who were having this duty, we completed everything. We got in the car and we thought, okay, we'll just about make it for Baba. And so we got in the car, and it was quite a traumatic situation. And there had been people who had witnessed the accident who were also fairly put out by the whole experience, and who were new, who were guests to India and never seen India before and found the whole thing quite a big deal. And they went back to their country. So anyway, we were driving back, and all of a sudden I feel extreme happiness. I say, Baba, it's a very serious occasion. I should not be feeling happiness like this. So I try to kind of, suppress it. But it was coming more and more and more. So I thought, well, I'm sitting in this car with too many people in it right by the window, so I'll look out that way, and then nobody will see that I'm in overwhelming happiness, because it was very inappropriate, I thought, to be very happy when all this death had taken place. Translators are having to talk very fast. So anyway, I sort of looked at myself. I said to Baba, Baba, what is going on here? Why am I so happy? It doesn't seem right. So anyway, after some time, it cooled down a bit, but it was still very much, I was just fully gleeful. Anyway, we reached Madhuban, and it was a time when Baba was still meeting everyone in Om Shanti Bhavan. Shantivan had not yet been created. And we got up and we had to shower and change and everything. And we got into the hall just before Baba said, Aj. And we found our places, and Baba spoke the Murli. And of course this was quite a big event, and so we were called on stage after the Murli to meet Baba. And Baba looked at me and he said, do you know why you were so happy? I said, how do you know? And of course Baba is watching us very carefully. And so I said, well, no, I don't. And he said, because you had done service. And I thought, well, I didn't do anything. I just sat beside watching somebody slowly die. I didn't think that was particularly serviceable. But anyway, he thought so. And she also thought so. This was one sister who, after everything is over, you offer bhog. And so the trance messenger had come back with a message about how happy she had been that I had just sat beside her all those nights. So I guess it was service. Sometimes you do a lot and you think it's service, but it isn't. Sometimes you don't do anything at all. You think it isn't service, and it turns out that it is. So we just never know. But anyway, there was a very, very strong and clear experience that happiness is a product of some kind of good karma that you do. And Baba had talked to us about pure karma today in the Murli. You probably listened very carefully to that. That anything that is just Baba's service cannot turn into a negative karma, but it must be a state of being free from any karmic bondage. And the product of doing these things is happiness. And we human beings, when anybody asks, okay, what is the purpose of life? I'm sure you must have sat with that thought for a few months or years, trying to figure out, isn't it? What's the purpose of life? And whenever I did that, my conclusion always was that it's happiness. That's the purpose of life. Did you come to that conclusion? Yeah. That's why we come on this earth, is to express and to experience happiness. Of course, this is a drama of happiness and sorrow. All the pairs of opposites are there. And the ultimate spiritual teaching, which is found in the Gita, is that we are supposed to be equal in the face of pleasure and pain, happiness and sorrow, success and failure, victory and defeat. So, because when you are equal, when you are detached from these things, then you are in a state of serenity, you see. But the actual purpose of existence is still happiness. So when we come down on this earth, we come into the happy world of the Golden Age. Now, once we reach the end of the Iron Age, I guess we have been fully betrayed by the major relationships in a human experience. So the major relationships that Baba also mentions, that he is that father, teacher, and guru, Satguru, right? These are the three major influences in a human life. So along with father comes mother. And so your parents, your teachers, your religious leaders, all of the influences in this life that have conditioned us and made us the way we are in terms of conditioning, contains a lot of betrayal, and we have some disappointments, some injuries, some sense of loss, some sense of never being able to reach our potential. Things like this are there. Very, very rarely do you find somebody for whom all of these are absolutely perfect. And when we are souls who have taken 84 births, of which 63 are under the influence of body consciousness, in which we have accumulated, knowingly or unknowingly, a lot of negative karma, it stands to reason that we would get very imperfect parents, imperfect teachers, and imperfect religious leaders. And therefore we can easily adopt this attitude of vairagya. And you remember from yesterday, vairagya is where you just know that whatever seems to provide you with fulfillment, satisfaction, actually doesn't. It's insipid, it doesn't have anything to offer, it's a mirage, and so you cannot believe in it, you cannot trust it, and so you are in this vairagi stage where you can actually do without the things that the world offers you, because you know that those offerings are hollow, they are empty, and therefore you prefer that which is beyond the world, and that is, of course, Baba. So to cultivate all the relationships with Baba, it is done in this context where vairagya is one aspect. A certain amount of disillusionment is good, because, you know, Maya is also called illusion. So whenever we experience disillusionment, I'm sure you must have had some sort of disillusionment from time to time, am I right? So whenever you feel disillusionment, it's actually a very bad feeling, isn't it? Yeah? You don't like it, do you? Does anybody like the experience of disillusionment? I don't think so, huh? Now, what happens is, this feeling of disillusionment, a very bad feeling, has to be balanced by an understanding that I would rather not be under any illusions. Right? Do you want to live in a state of illusion, where any time this disillusionment thing can come along and crack your little beautiful picture of reality that you had created, which is all unreal, you see? So we generally prefer the truth, right? Do you like the truth, or do you like to be under an illusion? You like truth, right? But truth is a very awkward thing, because truth is very unpleasant. there is this expression, the awful truth. And when the truth is shown, it creates a lot of discomfort, because we are in all sorts of illusions about relationships, about our value in the world, about what people think about us. All sorts of illusions are there, and when the truth comes out, it can very often be quite unpleasant and uncomfortable. So that means we have an ambivalent relationship with truth. We like it, but when it comes along, we don't really like it. In terms of how we feel about it, in the sense that we like to feel good, we like to receive compliments, we like everybody thinks that we're the greatest thing, etc., etc., but we are sometimes not. And so we say we like truth, but when it comes, and if you invoke truth and say, oh Baba, I really, really want to know the reality of me, and he will say, well, are you ready for that? Because then you're going to have to face the details of your shortcomings as well as the details of your qualities. So we're very happy to hear about our qualities, but when it comes to our shortcomings, if we're faced with them, we tend to not really like it. So what we need to do is use gyan, use knowledge in our intellect to tell ourselves, or give ourselves this question: would I rather be under an illusion, or would I rather have the reality, the truth, you see? And so all of us who say, yeah, we want truth, we like truth, we say, yes, I would rather have the truth. And so that means that we have to tolerate and accommodate and come to terms with the unpleasantness of truth when it comes along, you see? So if we can do that, then we can be beyond all of these illusions, which I think is a very good state to be, even if it's a little bit painful. And so, there's this expression, no pain, no gain. So we say, okay, a little bit of pain is okay for me to gain a state of authenticity and to live in a condition where I'm not under any illusions about what I am, about the situation I'm in, and what my future steps need to be in order to get where I want to go. So disillusionment then becomes a choice. I'd rather be disillusioned than live in under an illusion. So Baba, my father, my mother, my teacher. I think cultivating the relationship of Baba as teacher comes very easily because we can very easily think of ourselves as students. Baba's Murli is our teachings, and Baba speaks to us in the Murli, but he's always saying, Meethe Bache. So he's our teacher, but you can feel his love, not just as a teacher, but also as a someone who loves us. In some parts of the world, many parts of the world, especially the eastern part of the world, the Asian part of the world, it's very strong cultural aspect to take your identity from your parents, more so than in the western part of the world. In the western part of the world, there is this culture of individuality, which is more pronounced than in this part of the world. And so as a result, people in the western part of the world do not give so much prominence to the relationship with Baba as father and mother. But I think as teacher, it is a very powerful one. You know, God is my teacher, and whatever it is that I'm studying is coming from God. And it connects with this idea of truth, you know. So that may be a very good starting point for cultivating the relationships. You think of the different teachers that you have had in your educational life, and you will find that there are maybe one or two who have exercised a very powerful influence on your development, and that they have been important for you as relationships. You may also have a more powerful influence from less of individuals, but maybe the things that you have learned from books, you know? And so all of these things form you, the things that you have learned from the outside world. And your sense of identity is not so connected with particular individuals. This is what I find very much in the Western world. And because of this, sometimes people who have grown up in that kind of culture wonder what to do when it comes to making all relationships with Baba. Have you found this? Anyone? One? Two? Not many, huh? So then does this mean that you take your identity totally from your parents? Anyone? One or two, three or four. Okay, now the rest of you who neither do nor don't, what are we going to say for you? From where does your identity come? Any comments on that? Where do you get your identity from? You have to talk loudly. The culture. Okay. How many people say they get their identity from the culture? Okay, that's not very many of you. So there's an awful lot of people who are neither this, nor that, nor that. So what are you? Where do you get your identity from? It's mixed. Father, teacher. Okay, so this is the thing. You get your identity from your parents. Okay, your culture is your religious leaders, basically. What's the difference? Yeah, that comes into that. Teachers, parents, and religious leaders becomes your cultural effect. And there is this one mantra that Baba gives, that forget your body, your bodily relations, your bodily religion, which means your culture. Okay? So if you say that you are a child of your culture, now very, very few people have grown up in a single culture. Because of historical considerations, your culture itself is mixed, right? Many people are of mixed race, so you don't know you're black, white, green, yellow, pink, purple, or whatever it might happen to be, and so it creates a something of an identity crisis in people who come from very mixed culture. And so when Baba says you are a soul, you are a child of God, then that doesn't have anything to do with those physical attributes, right? So you have all sorts of cultural influences, and when you come here, then Baba has started in the last few years using the word Brahmin culture. So among Brahmins, you can say to yourself, well, I'm a Brahmin. But if you say that to people who are not Brahmins, they'll say, what are you talking about? You try and explain as much as you want, they'll still say, what are you talking about? Because the people outside of the BK world do not know what we mean by being a Brahmin. They relate it to something different that comes from the traditions of India and the caste system. And you're obviously not from that. So what are you talking about? You see? So then you find yourself marginalized. Do you? Because if you say that your identity is something that nobody else in the Lokic world can relate to, then you can't really position yourself in such a way that they know what you're talking about. So then you have to revert to what you grew up as, isn't it? So then that distances you from having all relationships with Baba. I see. So it's quite easy for us to put ourselves in situations where we can experience that we may be having something missing in our relationships with Baba. And so we're taking up this subject of cultivating all relationships with Baba. Now, Baba has called us Shiv Shakti, right? It's one of our titles, Shiv Shakti. Shiva and Shakti. So whether you're a sister or whether you're a brother, he still calls you Shiv Shakti. That means you are a soul who lives as a couple with Shiv Baba. So sometimes he talks about the combined form. So you must have tried living a few days or a few hours in a combined form with Shiv Baba. Have you tried that? No? And he has been telling us that we have to run through our titles and in Amrit Vela take up these titles, and you might want to try this one. It's a very powerful one. Shiv Shakti. You know, on our badges it says Om Shanti, but it used to say Shiv Shakti. If you look at Daddy Janki's, it says Shiv Shakti. You know. So normally the word Shiv Shakti refers to the goddesses. The Shaktis, the ones who are worshipped during the period of Navaratri, right, before Dashera, before Diwali, they worship the goddesses, Kali, Durga, Amba, Lakshmi, all of these who were mentioned in the Murli today. So that means to say the soul, the woman, but the soul who has taken power from Shiva. They are a Shiv Shakti. But it also means the combined form. When I, the soul, combine myself with the Shiv Baba, then I am fully empowered, right? When the soul is separate from Shiv Baba, then the soul is more subject to Ravan or Maya. And so there are many stories about Sita, which also we heard about today, you know, that only when Sita steps out of the protected zone within the line of Maryada, then only Ravan can take her. But as long as she remains within the Maryadas, then Ravan cannot come and get her. And so it is often said that Sita is not referring to the wife of Ram, but Ram refers to God, Shiv Baba, the incorporeal, and Sita refers to the soul. And so if we think about how we have passed through the cycle, once we have come into the Copper Age and we have become body conscious, then we were kidnapped by Ravan. And when we come into the Confluence Age, there are these two influences. One is the influence of the force of evil, and one is the influence of the force of God. You see? So when we come to Baba, as you know, Maya doesn't like that. Maya says, you belong to me, you have belonged to me for half a kalpa, I'm not going to let you go that easily. And so Maya will hold on to you. So basically what we're doing in the process of cultivating relationships with Baba is we are discultivating, if you can say, that's not a word, but you know what I mean by that. We are undoing, detaching ourselves from the influence of Maya. And so we have been aligned with Maya, thinking that it is the right thing for a long time. And so when we come to Baba, it's in a way new territory. Being with Maya is the familiar old unpleasant life. But it's familiar. So it's very easy to go back into it because at least you know it. When you go to Baba, it's new territory. Many people, they feel, I'm not sure if Baba knew all about me, if he would really like me. Many people say that, you see. And so we have to counter that feeling and counter that thought with something that Baba makes very clear to us is, look, Baba knows each and everything about you. Baba has tracked you all the way from the Copper Age onwards. Baba knows exactly who you're going to be, exactly what you have been through, and Baba has pointed the finger and said, come. Come into my family, come into my school. You used to be a golden age deity, and you forgot, and you lost the plot, and so Baba has come to make you that once again. So do not think that Baba wouldn't like you if he would really know about you, because he does know about you. Everything. All your secrets, even what you don't know about you, he knows about you. And he says, I want you. You see, so we have to remind ourselves about that. He knows everything about me and he wants me. Therefore you have to surrender to that. Because the thought that he might not like me if he would really know about me is a untrue thought, is a negative thought. And if you sustain that thought, you will be separated from him. And so whenever you produce such a thought, this comes from something called doubt. And there is a saying about doubt, a very, very famous saying which sometimes comes up in the Murli, that Vinash Kale Viprit Buddhi Vinashanti Vinash Kale Prit Buddhi Vijanti, which means during the days of destruction, which is now, those who have love for God, they will be victorious. And during the days of destruction, those who have hatred for God, they will be destroyed. So when you have a doubt in Him, you see, doubt in Him is like a kind of infidelity. And so you will put yourself in a lot of danger. And therefore, whenever any such doubtful thought arises in your mind, it is necessary for you to use that mace. You know, in Vishnu's picture, he has a mace, that club, right? And you have to club that thought, because otherwise it'll kill you. You don't need to allow that. So you have to be very assertive in regard to your relationship with Baba, and actually really develop faith, because he says, "You are mine." He's not a fool. He's not a simple-minded, you know. He knows what he's doing, more than you can imagine. So if he says, "You are mine," he's picky. He will want who he wants. So if he has called you and if he has said, "You are mine," it means that's it. You're okay, whether you like it or not. Whether you accept it or not, whether you believe it or not, whether you trust it or not, you see. Because Baba's say-so against your doubt, what is more heavy on the weight? Baba's say-so, right? So in that way, you have to remove these doubts, you see. And that is a choice. So Baba says, remember your titles. He says, "You are my most beloved." Everybody wants to be loved. Is there anybody who doesn't want to be loved? Anybody? Everybody wants to be loved. I hope you'll put all your hands up, yeah? Okay, no one wants to be loved. You like to be loved, right? So Baba loves us. That means we have a beloved. We have someone who loves us. What are all these relationships? They are aspects of love. You see, mother's love, father's love, teacher's love, beloved's love, friend's love. They're all to do with love. Because what the soul is empty of is the sense of being loved. And when you feel totally loved, then you feel totally fulfilled. Is that not right? If you feel that, you know, you have the mother's love, you have the father's love, you have the teacher's love, you have the beloved's love, you have the friend's love. So this is a very nice way of thinking about all relationships with Baba. That all the different forms of love. Well, what is love? Love is sustenance, you see. When you eat food here in Madhuban, this is coming from Shri Baba's Bandara. This is sanctified food because it's been offered to Baba. Yes, it is simple food, but it is nourishing food, and we are receiving that food from Baba. You see, this is sustenance. When we come to Baba, Baba gives us somewhere nice, comfortable bed to sleep in, and nice brothers and sisters to be with, and nice tolis, and nice blessings, and nice service to do, keep us occupied, give us a chance to create our fortune. You know, these are many different forms of love. And when Baba gives us his teachings, this is love, isn't it? Because the one thing that put us in trouble is we didn't know. We didn't know we were souls. We didn't know we were a child of God. We didn't know we had 84 births. We didn't know we used to be deities. We didn't know that we got betrayed by Ravan, and so on and so forth. Now we know. And because we know, we can act upon that knowledge, and we can create our fortune. We can make a life for ourselves based in truth, based in wisdom, based in spirituality, and we can know that our next 21 births will be very, very good indeed. And even all the rest of the lives that we have in this cycle of 84 births, you see, this is the worst it gets. It's not that bad, right? All BKs are perfectly okay. You may have plenty of challenges, but otherwise, you're okay. No? You can manage. And so that means that, we know that He has been looking out for us throughout all of eternity, and He will continue to do that. And now He makes us fully awake and fully aware, and He becomes everything for us. He becomes our world, right? When anything happens, what does a BK say? A BK says, Baba. When anything good happens, oh Baba, thanks Baba. When anything bad happens, oh Baba, come quick. But anything you say Baba. Or maybe you say Om Shanti. But Om Shanti comes from Baba anyway. Right? So in this way, you find that you are in the world of Baba, and Baba is in your world. Baba has told us to sit on His heart throne. So whether He's mother or father or teacher or beloved or friend or whatever, heart throne. Right? Because when you sit on the heart throne, it means you feel loved. And when you sit Him in your heart, you see, that means He's making us feel free to love Him. Because He will just, snuggle up to us and sit in our heart. And He says that this applies to those who do not play in the mud. So it's not an unconditional love, there's a little bit condition. And the condition is to remain free from the attraction of the flesh. Because mud means flesh. So when we get attracted to some human body, then that constitutes a barrier between us and Baba. So all we have to do is simply to act according to Baba's Shrimat, which is be careful, do not get attracted by the physical bodies, because they will not be able to provide for you what they look like they could provide. But we have been looking for these things through physical bodies for many births, so it's part of the old things that were familiar but unpleasant territory. Now we go into the pleasant but unfamiliar territory of having all relationship with Baba. So we have to cultivate. Cultivate is a word normally used for character and gardens. So you cultivate a good character, that will bring you close to Baba, because Baba is the ocean of all the virtues and values and qualities. So you're going into the same dimension as Baba. and you're doing good actions because they're good, because you like good, because it corresponds to your essence, and this brings you closer to Baba. And there may be many things that are negative that are attractive because they're familiar. But we listen to Srimat, Baba's Murli, the good examples of Brahmins that are around us, and our conscience. And it will tell us, okay, that may be familiar, but it's harmful. So let it go. You don't need that. Take a risk to come into the new territory of Baba's love with trust. You see? And we can do very practical things. And I think one of the most practical things is to have an ongoing conversation with Baba. Talk to Baba. Talk to Baba when you're meditating. Talk to Baba when you have to make a decision. Have this dialogue going with Baba, because the one thing that when you talk to somebody, you're drawing their attention to you. Okay? Say, hey Baba, let's go for a walk together. Hey Baba, shall we have lunch together? Hey Baba, let's sit down and remember you together. Can even do that, you see, because you can really intensify this sense of being with Baba. And I remember Baba had said in a Murli, always remember, I am always with you. You know? So if he says, I am always with you, then take him up on that promise and say, okay, if you're always with me, then it means you're sitting with me and we're talking. You see. And when you're talking to Baba, this is also a very good way to stay free from waste thoughts, you see, because Baba's really not interested in that stuff. If you start saying to Baba, oh, this one's no good and that one's no good and this is a problem and that's a problem, Baba will start giving you knowledge. Say, well, remember drama, you know, and be detached and things like that. So he will not engage in those conversations. Anyway, let's stop for a moment for traffic control, and we can have some questions, just as we had done in the other 2 days, for the next part of the session. Om Shanti. So does anybody have any question? Yeah, please come. Anyone who has a question, you can come up to the front.
We talked about truth and disillusionment, and of course, nobody wants to be disillusioned. You want to know the truth, but when a disillusionment comes, suppose in any part of life or relationship, mother, father, beloved, whatever, it's good in a way because I have moved on, I have not got stuck in that relationship, but then sometimes the pain of that disillusionment is so great that one can never have that relationship again with Baba.
I don't know.
I mean, one understands the pain, one understands that this is good and I'm okay with that and I've moved on, but to cultivate that same relationship with Baba sometimes, it's like something has been blocked off inside you and it's not allowing it to sort of, I don't know, mend or whatever. And so I was just wondering if that's possible.
I think it's possible, yeah, I think it's possible. I mean, when you are betrayed, it destroys some part of you. And so there is definitely some injury in the soul. But Baba is, of course, Vaidyanath. You know this one, Vaidyanath? There are 12 Jyotirlingams of Shiva in the path of bhakti. And one of them is the Ayurvedic doctor. So sometimes Baba says, I am the supreme surgeon. And of course, he's not going to do any surgery on our physical body, but there is no one except Baba who can do surgery on the soul. And there are actually quite a large number of souls who have been injured in a very extreme way through one means or another, through one relationship or another. A very severe betrayal has taken place. And so that is an injury to the soul, if you can say. And so that means that in our relationship with Baba, we have to be able to take a step of trust, which is also like a step of courage. And we may need to do quite a bit of work before we can open ourselves up fully to Baba in that area of injury. Because you mentioned pain, which is very great, and it can be so great that you feel that that part of your being is literally broken, destroyed, and can never be put together again. However, the soul is immortal. And this breakage and injury to the soul took place within living memory, which is very recent. And so the area where you are feeling this injury is in your conscious mind. And when you're relating to Baba as a body, you may not be able to do it. So we have to relate to Baba as a soul. That means we have to think about what's the difference between relating to Baba as a body, relating to Baba as a soul. And so we have to sort of see the body consciousness and see the injury occurred to I, the soul, in body consciousness. So the injury has occurred to the body conscious self, actually. Now, to heal from unimaginable pain as a soul, what do we do? Well, first of all, Baba has given us the power to face, the power to tolerate, and the power to accommodate. And perhaps even useful in this would be the power to pack up. So, to tolerate the intolerable, to face the unfaceable, and to accommodate that which should never happen to anyone. And that too, pack it up and say, okay, whatever you are, I see you next kalpa. Because you see, the soul can survive anything and everything. And in my experience, when you encounter these extreme heavy challenges, you can also consider it as a circumstance that allows you to find your power. So it involves a certain surrender. To be able to, or to decide to surrender totally to that thing. That whatever it is you are, I'm not going to resist you. I'm not going to say you are a bad thing or you are an intolerable thing, put up this like that. But say, okay, Baba, this too is in the drama. And even though it is outside my conscious capacity to handle this, and outside of my intellect to consider it even anywhere close to acceptable, yet it is in the drama. And whatever it is that happened, you, Baba, you can make it okay, because you are Bigariko Bananivala after all. Bigariko Bananivala, you know that one? The one who puts right what has been spoiled. So even the soul has been fully ruined by something, is still within Baba's power to put it right. Provided we donate ourselves to Baba, put ourselves on his operating table and say, okay, whatever it is, you fix me. Fix me. I know you can fix me because of who you are. And I know that I'm an eternal and immortal soul because you have told me I am, which means this too is survivable. You know, I tell you another little story that helped me to understand how this is so. I was visiting in South Africa, in Cape Town. And there is an island called Robben Island, which was the prison for the people during the time of the resistance to the apartheid. And Nelson Mandela was also one of those prisoners. So now it's a tourist place. So I went there as a tourist, and I saw all these prison cells, right? They're about, I mean, maybe 8 feet by 6 feet, and one wall is bars. There's no heating, no cooling, small bucket for the toilet, and that's it. 27 years he was sitting there like that, not allowed to talk to another human being. So, very good for thinking. Anyway, people who were put in that prison are only those who had become immune to torture. That means before they got there, they were well and truly tortured. That means electric shocks, dunking in buckets, whipping, beating, whatever is involved in torture, cutting bits and pieces of the body off, and such nice, pleasant things that people do to each other in the name of whatever they believe in. So I found that the people who were the guides in that prison were the former prisoners, who were also people who had become immune to torture. So I said, I want to talk to you. Tell me about this. How did you become immune to torture? And torture is not a normal thing, you know, and a lot of people die from it because it's that bad. And you get raped and everything like this. So I sat them down. I said, you tell me, how did you do this? And what goes on in the mind of a person so that they can become independent of any physical or psychological harm that can be done to a human being. And people who do torture are very, very competent at this, and they know very well how to break a person down. But these people had been able to survive it, you see. So that means it's humanly possible. So I wanted to know, okay, tell me. The answer is that you have to surrender. You see? You have to surrender yourself. Oh, because what we normally do is we resist, you see, and then we can be broken. But if you surrender, you give yourself up. You say to the pain, okay, take me. And for us, we can surrender to Baba, you see. And say, okay, take me. And the pain will go away. And you will be able to make it through. You see. And there are a few BKs, including myself, who have been subject to extreme and severe physical pain, and who also do this, you see. And you become bodiless, and you can make it. You see? So this is the secret which Baba has told us. And once you have, like gone through the pain and come out the other side of it, the pain has a way of leaving a legacy, a kind of depth of wisdom and understanding that changes you forever. You become different. You go on some sort of different level. You are no longer on the same level as whoever you were with, people who can't take pain, and you then become a person who can take pain. Become a person who's immune to pain. Then, comes this wonderful stage of awareness, which I think I must have mentioned before, that nobody can kill me, nobody can corrupt me, and nobody can break my spirit, you see. It's a very, very powerful stage, you see, because then absolutely, clearly in your mind, Baba is it, and all these efforts to take me out, destroy me, whatever it happens to be, I can get through it, you see. And once you've done it once, you know it can be done. You've faced your fear, you've faced your unwillingness to be taken beyond your tolerance level. And then you find that anything can be repaired. Anything can be forgiven. Anything can be transcended. It's a very, very good stage to reach, you see. And then your trust level of Baba is that much greater. And your relationship with Baba is very, very strong, because you have faced and you have transcended the things that put you in, what's called the human condition, the limitations of human frailty. You have gone beyond it. And Baba keeps offering us this, but we won't do it unless it's a very dire situation. But when you're in a dire situation and you do it, then it's under your belt. You see, it's behind you. And you say, yes, I know it can be done because I did it. I've experienced it, so I know, you see. When you don't know, it's like, oh, we don't know. Maybe, maybe not. So very often we get faced in Brahman life with very big exams. And these big exams, Baba always tells us, is to make you experience. But experience means what? To know it can be done. To know I can make it. To know Baba's with me no matter what. You see? Then you start to be able to be beyond the normal human limitations. And then you're no longer a human, but you become, like the angel, the Shakti, you see. Because angels and Shaktis are not the normal humans, right? And who will become the angels, who will become the Shaktis, is us. So if not us, then who? And Baba says. So we just have to use those very dire situations as opportunities to shift to a whole nother level. And then you're different. That's a very good thing. Anybody else have a question? Yes, please.
I'd like to know how to face the most important of any doubts. To face Maya in one way or other way. Yes, maybe we think, I can't, then we churn the knowledge.
I think what you have to do, you need to identify the doubt in particular.
Yes, the big one of
What's
all
that?
doubts.
What's that?
About God Himself.
What about Him? You mean, is He really there?
Yeah. If all this story about drama...
Oh, you mean the Gyan also? Is that really true?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Yes. Big question. Is this true? Very big question. When you first come to Baba, I think all of us receive some kind of secret inner experience that is a sort of a confirmatory experience, right? Where we say intuitively yes. And then after that we need to check it out and verify it for ourselves. Am I right? Is this what happens? Certainly this was my experience. And I think that the question of doubt will come frequently. And you have to build up an arsenal of experiences and churnings. And ask yourself a very basic thing, do I exist? Most basic question. Okay, yes, okay, so you tick that box. I exist. So I know that one, okay? Now, am I a body? Am I a body? I have a body, right? So I'm not a body. So you take that one. I'm a soul, right? Now, a soul is eternal. Is a soul eternal? Yes or no? Yeah, to tick that box. So you got 4 already. Okay, eternal soul means I always ever have been me. And I always ever will be me. Yes? Now I had one very nice experience, I can tell you, that this was very early on in Gyan. And it might even have been before Gyan, when I was trying to find Baba. And I had this experience of being shot up into outer space, like in a rocket. Just totally out there. And when you go into outer space all by yourself, you're definitely all alone. The spacemen experience this. So I experienced this being carried just far, far, far beyond into absolute outer space, where there was absolutely no one around. And there I experienced a presence. Yeah. This is years and years ago, but it's a very strong experience that even if I am totally and completely alone and completely gazillions of miles away from the earth and all the people there, I'm not alone. There is someone there. Because a human being really doesn't like to be ultimately alone, you see. And so when you have something like that kind of experience, for me at least, it is such a powerful knowing that no matter what, he is there. Whether I'm in the body or out of the body, you see, because if you're a soul, whether you're in your body or out of your body, are you still there? Are you still there if you're not in your body? Yes or no? Yes or no? If you leave your body, are you still there? You could be somewhere, right? What do you think? Yes. So then, if you're still there, then the rest of the guys are also still there. Because they're souls as well, right? So whether you're in your body or you're not in the body doesn't make that much difference in terms of existing. And then Baba, God, incorporeal, supreme soul, he's eternal, right? So he's there somewhere. He's either up in the soul world or down here. We're either up in the soul world or down here. You could be somewhere, because you exist. And if you exist, you have to exist somewhere. So you're either down here performing some drama, or you're up there not performing anything. And he is a soul, like us. Only difference is, he never gets deteriorated. So he's a reference point for us. You see? And then, people say, oh, God knows. God knows. So he must know something, right? So what does he know? He knows that what goes on is we go up and down and round and round. because we're always here, somewhere, either on the earth or up in the soul world. And once we're on the earth, we're in time and space. And so we go up and down, and we go round and round. And that's the simple truth. And then you say, why do we go up and round, up and down and round and round? We do it because that's how it is. And we go through happiness and sorrow. And we find him, lose him, gain, lose. This is the game, you see. So if you doubt, it means actually that you kind of lose contact with this reality. Up and down, round and round. So if you doubt, it means you kind of fell down into material consciousness, where you're unable to see this. And so each and every day, Baba tells us the Murli. Because each and every day, we are in danger of forgetting. Because we are surrounded by the material world and lots of Maya and blah, blah, blah. So, that we have as our lifeline to faith, not blind faith, but open-eyed faith, is actually that in each and every Sakar Murli, Baba says, you're my sweet child, you're a soul, you went through Golden Age, Silver Age, Copper Age, Iron Age, you used to be in the soul world, you came down here, you've been round and round, you passed through hell, now you're going to heaven, don't worry about a thing, it's all right, you exist. And then you say, not sure about it. So what you need to do is really read the Murli many times. Because when you read the Murli many times, take any Murli, you're bound to have some in your packets of papers, you know, and just take a Murli, any Murli, and read it several times. If you can manage to read it 10 times, 15 times with full attention, it engages your intellect and it puts you together with Baba so that you can see it, because he'll open up your third eye, you see. And then Maya closes it down all the time and Baba opens it up all the time, you know. And so the most tangible thing that we have from Baba is a black and white Murli, which is a physical thing on a piece of paper. And you have to read it several times, because there are layers of the Murli. If you read it once, you get very superficial. Read it again and again and again and go deep, so that you can capture it and make it your own, you see. And once you have taken it inside, made it totally inside of yourself, taken possession of the Murli, then you become like awake and aware, you see. And then it's very difficult to doubt, because you can see. Doubt is when you can't see. The third eye closes. So if you don't study sufficiently, Maya can close down your third eye quite easily, you know. And so it's just very, what we find, is this is our lifeline, the Murli. So we have to give a lot of importance to it, a lot of value to it, and expose ourselves to it a lot, you know. Even 1 hour of Murli is more powerful than 23 hours of Maya in any one day. But if you sort of lose contact with the Murli, then the Maya will take over. So it's a continuous battle in which we have to apply this safety discipline of meditating, studying the Murli every day, every day, every day. He comes every day because it's necessary for us. You know? There's a story, there's one girl who took the course and she got a Murli, and then she was disconnected from BKs for 5 years. She read that Murli every day and she was able to make it, and then come back into Gyan and get going with everything. Just the same Murli. It's amazing. What? Say Murli for 5 years. Say every day, and there was enough in that one Murli to keep her going. It's amazing. So it means the Murli contains amazing treasures, but you have to really churn it to get at them. If we just read it once, it's not going to allow us to penetrate it and take possession of those treasures. And those are the things that nourish us spiritually, you see. So that's what we have to do. And we know that. Okay, so lunchtime. So let's have a moment of Baba's remembrance and Om Shanti.